Hi, I'm Nisha, and I'm one of the Women in Product co-founders. I hope everybody's been having an amazing first half of the day. Now, and I hope over lunch you've actually had the chance to connect with some amazing product managers and make new connections, which is the primary goal of this one. Now, to kickstart our afternoon sessions, I'm honored to introduce our next speaker, Carol Isozaki. Carol is a highly sought-after executive coach and leadership expert. She regularly speaks at global leadership, corporate, and industry conferences. She has developed and teaches the curriculum for a time-tested exec development program, and she also trains HR leaders in her highly regarded coaching methodology programs. She is an ardent supporter of women's leadership programs. She recently started, about 7 years back, her own consulting practice, Strategic Brand Intelligence, to inspire individuals, teams, and companies to constantly envision loftier leadership possibilities and to empower them with strategic brand mindset, awareness, and confidence to create a reality that consistently exceeds that vision. Sounds pretty amazing, doesn't it? So, I know I'm saying this on behalf of everyone gathered here when I say we're absolutely thrilled to have you here, Carol, and we really look forward to the session. With that, Carol, everybody.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Good afternoon. I am extremely excited to be here today. Talking about what we're talking about today, Plan to be Amazing, and increasing your impact and influence for women leaders is something that I am absolutely passionate about. I do not take for granted the fact that I get to spend time with audiences all the time. What I'll tell you is today is extra super meaningful to me, and I'm going to take about 2 minutes to be a little personal, be a little vulnerable, and probably a little emotional. So my mom recently passed away, and she was an amazing woman and an incredible mom. And this is actually my very first event back since that happened. Thank you. So I purposely picked this event to come back to because I wanted it to be something that would allow me to honor her and for me to pay back or pay forward. And to me, what better way to do that than to spend some time with pretty darn amazing women already and help you to become even more amazing. So what I'll tell you is I'm a little outside of my comfort zone right now, not because I'm standing on stage, not because of the size of the audience, but just because of what's happening with me personally. And so I am tapping into my own plan to be an amazing in a way that I've never had to leverage it before because I've never been in this situation before. But you deserve nothing but my best, and that is my intention for today. I'm sorry, let me try to fix this. Oops. You deserve nothing but my best, and that's what this is all about, is that it is really easy to be amazing when everything is going well, but as PMs, you know, everything doesn't go well all the time, right? And we're gonna be outside our comfort zone, and that's what this really helps with. So we are going to have a lot of fun. We're going to be interactive. We're going to provoke a lot of thought. We're going to action plan too. My ask of you is please be all in with me because I promise you I will be all in with you, okay? The other thing is we only have 45 minutes. I wish I had more time with you. So we're going to move relatively fast, but I know that as a PM you are used to working at that pace, so I'm not worried about that at all. The other thing is we are going to do some interactive exercises, and because we only have 45 minutes, I can only give you a short amount of time to do each one. But the idea is I want to plant the seeds. I want to start the dialogue. I want you to really start getting those wheels in motion, and the idea is you go invest in yourself after this, right, to further evolve your plan, to dialogue more, to tap into all the resources that you have so that you have a really meaningful plan to be amazing to source from whenever you're in situations potentially like the one that I'm in today. All right? So let's go ahead and get started. Yeah, my slides work. All right, so we're going to make every second count. As an executive coach and as a subject matter expert on leadership, I'm not into incremental change. So I didn't come here today to spend this 45 minutes with you to help you to change just a little bit. I'm into seismic shifts in the way that you think about yourself and your ability to lead. Now, I realize that we have different levels in this room, right? And I want you to understand my definition of leadership. To me, leadership is not a title. It is simply your ability to have impact and influence everywhere that you go. Now, too often what I hear in my coaching, and I hear it more from women than I do from men, is that how we show up is room dependent. And the more daunting the room, the more senior the room, the higher stakes the room is, a lot of times we shrink back from who our best self is. And what I want to do is I want to help you to have such greater clarity about what your amazing is. And I want you to take your intentionality and your accountability to a whole different level. So regardless of who's in the room, you're going to be able to bring your full force to the table. So what I'm talking about is disruptive in the most positive sense of the word. All right, in terms of goals for today, first of all, I want to help you to understand or expand your understanding of what amazing leadership is. Because what I find is oftentimes we define it too narrowly. So we do everything we're thinking of, but we're not thinking about it broad enough. So if we can think about it broader, we actually have more capability of being a better leader. You want to do this? Okay, let's try this. Is that better? Okay. The other thing is I want to help you to develop a plan to bring greater intentionality to each and every interaction that you have. So as a first poll, how many people came here to this session with the great intention to get a lot of value out of it? Raise your hand. Okay, fantastic. All right, next question. How many people came here to this session with the great intention to deliver a lot of value during these next 45 minutes? Raise your hand. I see a few hands raised, and they're not nearly raised as convincingly as the first time. All right, so one of the ways in which I see us not being strategic all the time is that we tend to come to the table only in receiving mode, that we expect to get a lot out of something, but we don't hold ourselves accountable for value exchange. And the reality is no matter where we go, there's an expectation that we're going to deliver value, even if it's about contributing energy to the room. So if you've ever thought about yourself as, well, I'm just the note taker, I'm just the observer, I'm just here for my own benefit, the reality is you've given yourself a free pass that no one else recognizes. So as that first seismic shift in expanding your impact and influence, what I want you to do is I want you to throw away that free pass. And instead, in every interaction, think about what is relevance in this situation? And how do I deliver that relevance in a differentiated way so that I can bring my full value to the table? And bottom line, this is all about building your following and increasing your impact and influence and making it easier for you to navigate all the things that you have to navigate every single day. All right, the overriding question that I want you to be thinking about throughout this process is, what do you want your brand of leadership to be? Your unique promise of value as a leader, as a contributor. What do you want it to look like? And more importantly, what do you want it to feel like? How do you want people to emotionally respond to your leadership? Because how people feel in response to us profoundly affects how much they want to engage with us and how easy or difficult it is to achieve anything. And once you think about how do I want to be known, how do I want to be experienced, then it's what is required of me to consistently deliver upon to build that unique promise of value. All right, food for thought. Every interaction counts. Every interaction is an opportunity to either expand your impact and influence, squander an opportunity, or damage your ability to have impact and influence. Every interaction. So how important it is to have what I call a PTBA. And a PTBA stands for a plan to be amazing. Now, this call to action was born out of a series of coaching conversations, and they all happened to be with women. And they went like this. They would say, well, I'm amazing when I'm the most senior person in the room. I'm amazing when I'm the subject matter expert and well prepared. I'm amazing once I get to know people. And I even had an attorney say, well, I'm amazing in the courtroom. And the whole reason that they were telling me this was a situation we were talking about, they weren't amazing. And they wanted to make sure that I knew they had amazing in them. And the whole time I'm listening to them make excuses, I'm thinking, well, you could have been amazing. You have amazing in you. You just didn't hold yourself accountable enough, and you didn't have enough intention around that. Now, where this absolutely solidified is this was my call to action in everything that I did. I was doing a presentation at the Bar Association on leadership. And to this participants' credit, because a lot of people don't do this, they came up and introduced themselves prior to the event. And this is what happened. They said, "Hi, my name is so-and-so." And I thought, wow, no eye contact, poor body language, monotone voice. This person's in the right place. They need to work on their impact. Now they go over to the host of the event, and exact same thing happens. "Hi, my name is so-and-so," which absolutely solidified to me that my first perceptions were correct. Now, a few minutes later, someone this person knows walks into the room. Guess what happens? Suddenly, they go from a small black and white version of themselves to this high-def, big color television version, right? They're engaging. There's compelling body language. There's enthusiasm in their voice, right? And I'm watching this, and I'm thinking, why didn't I get any of that? Like, why did I get such a horrible representation of them when they had that amazing in them? And the second thought that really struck me was, had I not seen it with my own eyes, I would assume that every day, all day long, they walked around with a monotone voice, poor body language, very little impact on the world whatsoever. And how sad that would have been if that was the perception I walked away with. All right. How many people are familiar with Costco? Okay, so at Costco, everything comes in big packages, right? So they're always giving out samples. And based upon that sample, you have to make a buying decision. So you try the sample and you think, really liking this, really enjoying this experience, think I want this experience again. You're likely to buy the big package, right? I don't know anyone who tries a sample and thinks, not so great, not really enjoying this experience, don't think I want this experience again. But I'm sure the big package is amazing. Let me buy it anyway, right? That doesn't happen. So what I just told you is every interaction counts. I want you to think about every interaction is like giving out a Costco sample of yourself, and how important it is to give representative samples of your amazing best, because no one is going to assume that there's anything greater in you than what you give them in that sample. And one of the things that I want you to really appreciate is that big package is not just you. That big package is your team. It's your organization. It's the products that you represent, and how much you and all these other things deserve the best when it comes to you. And how do we do that, especially when we're outside of our comfort zone? All right. So what I want to do is I want to start building out your own plan to be amazing. And where I want to start is where you're at your amazing best already. So what I want you to do is I want you to pair up with someone, and I definitely want it just in twos because I want everyone to have the opportunity to speak. And this is one of those really, really short exercises. So what I want you to do is I want you to think about where you're already at your most amazing. Is that in your personal life, in your professional life? It doesn't matter. But it is where you are fully engaged. You're delivering high impact value. You're dynamic. And the likelihood is you're probably leading, right? So anyway, go ahead, pair up with someone, preferably someone that you have not met before you walked in this door. And in just about a minute's time, tell them where you're at your most amazing. How do you feel and how do you behave? The other thing is, please do not tell the other person where you're at your most amazing in a monotone voice where they can't imagine it. I need you to embody amazing, all right? So go ahead and get together, and we'll get back in a couple of minutes. All right. So I love the energy in this room. There was so much hand gestures going on, and there was so much smiling that was happening. And I always want to be a part of all the conversations, but thank you so much for that. We're going to do another exercise in a little bit. I bet you could be even louder next time, so that is my challenge to you. But thank you so much for the level of participation. So, question for you, how many, and let's be really, really honest, how many people would say they're in this zone of amazing 75 to 100% of the time? Raise your hand. 50 to 75, 25 to 50, and I won't ask for the last group. So whatever range you raise your hand for right now, what I hope that you realize in this moment is we all have so many more opportunities to bring this level of impact and influence and engagement. And you think about how much benefit there is to that. And then also what the cost of is when we leave this at the door. Okay, so that's the thing that I want you to really think about is we have so many more opportunities to simply bring more of ourselves to the table and really influence situations. All right, because here's what I absolutely believe, that we all have amazing in us, yet we often lack in intentionality and we often just don't hold ourselves accountable enough. And I know in your line of work, there are so many times we're up against really big challenges. And if in those moments we don't recognize them as really big challenges and we don't hold ourselves to a whole different level of intentionality and accountability, subconsciously we may pull back from being who our best self is, okay? Now, let's talk strategy. So any plan to be amazing needs to be rooted in two things. One of them is about being highly relevant to the markets that we serve. The other thing is being highly differentiated in terms of the way that we serve our markets. And so what we want to do is we always want to be operating in that upper right-hand quadrant. So a couple things related to relevance, because I know we think about it all the time for our products, but how much do we think about it for ourselves in terms of one way in which I see us having more opportunity is to make sure that we understand relevance from our market's perspectives and really appreciating how dynamic the world is, and what relevance is today may be very different tomorrow. But oftentimes we don't have enough touch points with our markets to understand that. And so we actually start veering off in a direction that people are not going to value at the end of the day. The other thing is, again, think broader about what relevance is. Maybe if it's about empowering someone else. Maybe if it's about transparency. Maybe if it's about recognizing someone more or building a stronger culture, right? So what do you hold yourself accountable for when you think about it from a relevance perspective? Now, from a differentiation perspective, if we look around, there's a whole lot of people who do what we do. But in order to be the supplier choice or truly that influencer, we need to think about how do we deliver that value so it's actually a high impact experience versus just high value. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about differentiation because I have more confidence that we're going to spend enough focus and time on the relevance piece of it. But to truly be impactful, we need to really think more about the differentiation piece. So how many people have been to Waikiki in Hawaii? Okay, so if you've ever been there, one of the things that you'll quickly realize is one of the #1 modes of transportation for tourists is trolleys. And one of the #1 destinations in Waikiki for a trolley is a shopping center called Ala Moana Shopping Center. Now, having been to Hawaii a lot of times, I've ridden in a lot of trolleys. And I'll tell you that they're not very differentiated. There's nothing about a trolley where I would say, you know what, I really want to ride on this one. Until one day I came across this one after shopping at Ala Moana Shopping Center. And when you're done shopping, what you have to do is stand in a really long trolley line to wait for your particular trolley to come through. Now, this one trolley pulls up. And before anyone disembarks, this is what happens. The trolley driver puts on YMCA, and the entire trolley starts rocking out to this. And what I thought was really incredible was no one left the trolley. And the trolley is just bouncing up and down, right? And there's this full level of engagement and participation. And people were connected to something that was bigger than themselves. And I thought, how cool is that? Now, when the song ends, that's when people get off. You know, when you think about when you're on vacation, people are tripping over each other, right? To get and start experiencing the destination. No one was in a hurry to get off. So when people start getting off, everyone is shaking the trolley driver's hand. They have the biggest smiles on their faces, and they have a bounce in their step, and you know they just went for a differentiated ride. So I'm paying attention to this trolley because I'm trying to figure out if I'm in the, close enough to the front to get on, which I wasn't. But when it was its turn to pull up to the loading area, before anyone got on, this is what happened. The trolley driver put on "We Will Rock You." And you know he just made a unique promise of value of the type of experience you were going to have. This was not going to be an ordinary trolley ride. So the thing that I want you to think about is a PM. It is like you are taking your constituents on a trolley ride. And think about how do you create this differentiated experience so people are lined up and eager to get on. They are fully engaged and all in and feel a part of something that's bigger than themselves once they're on. And they're not in any rush to get off. And once they do get off, they're talking about their experience and encouraging other people to get on. When you think about the challenges about teaming and full employee engagement and talent retention, how important these things are to really think about what is the experience that I deliver as a PM, and how do I get people to be really excited and connected and think about something they're all part of something bigger than themselves. Now, what I want to do is I want to talk a little bit even more about this differentiation piece and building your following, expanding your impact and influence. This is my Auntie Esther. And my Auntie Esther was one of my all-time favorite people in the world, too. And if you watched her live her life, well, she never gave a single thought to leadership, I believe, and probably never thought about building her following and increasing her impact and influence. If you watched her live her life, it was like watching a master class on how to do it right. Now, my aunt was a grocery store checker in a major grocery store chain in a major city. So not a mom and pop little corner store where everyone knows each other, but like a Safeway in Silicon Valley. And she won Checker of the Year. And this is actually the picture of her on the Internal magazine announcing her for that honor. And coincidentally, she won a trip to Hawaii, which is why the really cool travel bag and the flower lay. And people would literally stand in a longer grocery store line to go through her line. And it wasn't because she had better register skills, but it was because the experience that she created for you when you got to the front of the line made it worth the extra cost. So what I want you to really appreciate when I'm challenging you on your own plan to be amazing, it's not would people be willing to follow you if all things were equal, but would people be willing to follow you even if there was an extra cost, like a longer line? Because I know that we all have that ability in us. So what I want to do now is I want to further build out our plan to be amazing. So we've already tapped into and recognized where we're at our most amazing. What does that look like? What I want to do now is I want us to think about how do we want people to emotionally respond to our leadership. And the way that I want you to do this is I want you to think about who an Auntie Esther equivalent is in your life. So my Auntie Esther, she always made me feel energized. She made me feel special. She made me feel like I could accomplish more after I've talked to her than before. And she was just really inspirational, and she just made me feel happy, right? But who's someone in your life that just has really emotional reactions that they create for you? You think about the people that you interact with. Some are like my Auntie Esther. There's others where we walk away and we feel depleted, right? We feel frustrated. We feel annoyed. We feel undervalued. We feel unheard. Those people, they don't wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I'm going to deplete every single person that I interact with today. That's my goal, right? That doesn't happen. But that's actually the wake they leave behind. And usually that is because there is a complete over-focus on just getting things done and a complete underappreciation for the importance of leaving positive emotional reactions behind. Now, as women, we are so often focused on just getting things done, right? We have so much to do. And also about showing our value and proving ourselves, that oftentimes we forget about this part of it. And I don't want us to be at risk anymore. So that's why I want us to do this exercise. So pair up with someone different. Literally just spend about a minute or two each. Tell them who an Auntie Esther equivalent is for you. Literally spend 5 seconds deciding who that is. That's not the point of this exercise. And then tell them, how does this person make you feel? And then come up with the top 3 emotional reactions that you most hope people will feel as a result of interacting with you. And again, I want this to be really loud. You are talking about one of your most favorite people, so exude that in the way that you come across, all right? So we'll get back together in a couple minutes. All right, so I'm sorry I got to stop the conversation so we could keep it moving. I love the fact that you guys don't want to stop talking. That's fantastic. All right, so how many people would say that they feel like they've given this part of their deliverable each and every day enough time and focus? Raise your hand. Okay, not too many hands raised. Okay, this is really important stuff. So one of the things I hear all the time and I hear it more from women than men, is people saying, I don't have time to do any of this, right? I could barely fit in what I already do. So here's the thing, I want you to think two things. One, I want you to do differently what you already do. So my aunt did not win Checker of the Year by being a slow checker. She was actually one of the fastest checkers, and they actually timed them. Even the way she said your name, you instantly knew you were special. Now, we greet people every single day, but how do we greet them? As just a common courtesy that we need to get out of the way so we could get down to business? Or do we actually communicate to them that, you know what, I'm really excited to be sitting across the table from you. I am all in, and I can't wait to partner on this, right? The other thing, too, is when you start to appreciate how important this is and how much it influences how easy or difficult it is to accomplish anything, you'll start to think about, okay, where can I redirect some of my time and focus? Because in the long run, this really does matter, and I can't afford not to make time for it, all right? So here's something else that I really believe, is that a smile is one of the most powerful, most underused tools that we have at our disposal. And I actually think it's really cool. I was walking around out there, and I saw so many smiling faces, and I love the energy that I've seen today. So studies show that even when we don't feel like smiling, that if we smile, things start happening inside of us, right? We just start feeling better. And who doesn't want to start feeling better? The other thing is studies also show that the natural human reaction to someone smiling at us is to feel compelled to smile back. And the minute someone feels compelled to smile back at us, they associate a positive emotional reaction to us, which leaves a stronger, more lasting imprint. And really, it's a win-win, because relevance to me, at its best, is about making someone's day brighter than it was before, right? And oftentimes we undervalue that. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to further build out our plan to be amazing. So we talked about where we're at our most amazing, and we thought about how do we want to make other people feel. This exercise is about how do you want to be known as a leader. So what I want you to do is I want you to take that postcard, and I want you to write down the 4 words that you most hope people will use to describe you, okay? Now, for those of you who have given it a lot of thought already and you know exactly what those words are, you could write them down quick. If you're one of those people, then what I want you to think about is, based upon the Costco samples that you've given out to people, what are likely the 4 words that other people would use to describe us? Okay, so I'm just going to give you about a minute or 2 to jot down your aspirational words, and then we will get back together. And don't worry if you don't have time to do the second piece. All right, so, and again, I apologize that we're not giving you lots of time for any of these things, but hopefully we got our wheels turning, and please invest in this more afterwards. So this is not an answer key, but this may be some of the words that you have as your aspirational words. Innovative, captivating, visionary, influencer, dynamic, strategic, great communicator, thought leader. Now, when I work one-on-one with coachees, I always have them do this exercise. And always, always, always they aspire too low the first time they do this. So if you have things on there like organized, reliable, hardworking, trustworthy, those are things that don't describe an amazing leader. It's kind of like baseline expectations to be considered for a job, right? So I want you to aspire higher. So after this session, if you have words on there like that do not describe amazing, I want you to elevate those. Now, if people were really, really honest with us, here's some words that they might use to describe us that we would never want on our aspirational list. Always late, inconsistent, too technical, poor listener, reserved, inaccessible, impatient, too passive-aggressive, task or detail-oriented, indecisive, great doer, well-intentioned, or critical, okay? Now, when I work with people one-on-one, I also have them go get feedback from their markets. And usually it's not quite this honest, but it still provides a lot of value, and I highly encourage you to go get feedback this way. What happens is the feedback that they get from others is always 1 to 2 levels below their first cut at their aspirational words. So when I have them aspire higher, there are clear opportunities and gaps that are identified to help you to work towards the type of leadership and influencer you want to be. The other thing is, if you collect feedback this way, is make sure that you get their definition of the word rather than you assign your own definition. Because it's just human nature that we tend to assign more positive definitions to words. So the example is critical. You may be sitting there going, oh my gosh, you think I'm essential. That's not how they meant the word, okay? All right, so here's another thing that I want you to think about that is related. It's people versus technical skills. When you start off in your career through middle manager, it is very natural and very strategic to be focused on building out your core technical skills because you have to get good at what you need to get good at. And people skills are always an important part of things, but we need to be focused and leading with technical. There's a point in time in our career where we actually need to flip what we lead with. And that is not to say we don't need to be technical anymore. The assumption is we are technical based upon our level, our title, the organization that we work for. That is not going to differentiate us as an influencer and as a leader. What's going to differentiate us is the relationships we build, the experience that we create as we deliver our technical value. And so much of the time where I see people getting capped out is they keep with the first strategy. Why would I ever change? Because it's got me to where I am now. But the reality is, you know what, you gotta change. So it's important to continue to build relationships and to continue to think about how do I deliver experiences that people wanna sign up for so that they would be willing to stand in a longer line for me. And if you don't do that, what I want you to really appreciate is it's like you're creating headwind for yourself everywhere that you go. It's really important to make the time for this. And if you look at the 4 words, how many of them describe people skills versus how many describe technical skills? That's another way to tell where is my focus. And if at least 2 of those words are not people skill focused, I would change those to help you to redirect some of your focus towards some things that are going to help you to elevate in your career. All right, the last big concept that I want to cover before we do the recap is a concept called target hands. And my assumption in sharing this with you is that where you are in your career right now is not where you ultimately want to be, that you have higher aspirations. Now, where I came up with this concept was watching 6-year-olds play basketball. So let me set the stage for you. There was a 6-year-old boy who was about to inbound the ball. Another one of his teammates, right on the other side of the baseline, and so close to the inbounder that all they needed to do was outstretch their arms, and they literally could hand the ball off to each other, like very little risk whatsoever. Now, about 20 feet back on either side were 2 other teammates. So you would think from a proximity perspective, much riskier to pass to, right? So with that little bit of information, what I want you to do is I want you to stand up. And I want you to imagine me as the inbounder. And I want you to imagine yourself as one of my teammates. And on the count of 3, what I want you to do is I want you to show me your target hands, and I want you to call for the ball, okay? So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay. Not bad, not bad. Keep standing. So let me color in this story for you. And you know what? You would definitely want to get a picture from the stage in a little bit. All right, let me color in the story for you. The little boy who is standing right in front, who you would think would be the obvious choice to pass the ball to, he doesn't even have his hands up. So his mom is yelling at him, put your hands up, put your hands up. And every time she yells at him, he puts it up. And then he puts it down. And then she yells at him, and he puts it up again. And he puts it down. Now, the 2 boys 20 feet back, I am not kidding you, the fiercest 6-year-olds I have ever seen. They were lunged. They had their arms out. They had this fierce look on their face, and they were calling for the ball like, you better give me the ball. And not only am I going to catch it, but I have pretty darn great plans for the ball. So the play unfolds. The little boy who's right in front, he doesn't get the ball. So the mom is yelling at him. She's furious. She's like, call for the ball, call for the ball. So in the middle of all this action, he's saying, ball, ball. And no one is passing him the ball. And I wish I had a video of this because it was such an optic about what I hear all the time in my coaching. And I hear it more from women than from men, but I hear it from both. Is they will tell me, I am the obvious choice. I have been here the longest, I worked the hardest, yet the opportunities keep going to people who haven't been here as long, don't work as hard, and look much riskier to pass to than I do. And I don't get it. And we break it all down and we really look at things closely. The reality is those people's target hands look more ready and more convincing than ours do. So what I want to have you think about is, what do your target hands look like? Like, how convincing and how ready are they? Do you call for the ball? Working hard is not calling for the ball. You got to ask for what you want. You need to demonstrate and express an interest in the things you want to be involved in. If you call for the ball, how do you call for the ball? Do you call for it as ball? Like, maybe someday, possibly, would you consider me? Or would you call for it like ball? Like, I'm ready for it, I'm hungry for it, I know exactly what to do with it, and I cannot wait to show you. The other thing is, do you hear the call to action when you get the ball? So many times I see senior leaders giving people opportunities that are meant to be like little spotlight moments. But the people receiving them don't see it like that, right? They'll say, oh yeah, they asked me to do this little project, little presentation. I did it, it was no big deal, and then I went back to my really important work. They didn't hear the call to action. It's just like 6-year-olds playing basketball. Even at 6, they have brands as basketball players. There's certain ones, you know, the minute they get the ball, they hear the call to action. They know they need to be driving to the hoop. They need to be finding that player that is more open than them, or they need to be looking to make a basket. There's others that don't recognize the call to action. They bounce the ball a few times, but with no real strategy or forward momentum involved. And they dish it off to someone else, not because that's the strategic thing to do, but because, you know what, I think it's someone else's turn now, right? So that's the thing that I want you to think about, is look for those spotlight moments and really give that amazing Costco sample. And lastly, have enough key people heard and seen what you can do with the ball. It's not what you know you can do. So when my younger son was 6 years old, he was not a very good basketball player. At 12, he's a pretty darn great one. But when he was 6, he hardly ever made a basket in practice. And so whenever he made a basket, I'd always look at the coach. And the coach was almost always looking the other way. And so even though they were in the same room, it wasn't noticed the way that he or I wanted it to be. And that is a reality too, that there are often times when we're in the room with the decision makers and they're not paying attention the way we want them to be, right? So it's not about, okay, they saw me, I did something great, I gave them that amazing Costco sample, check. They know what's in the big package. No, you need to be doing it over and over and over, because eventually they'll figure out what's in the big package, right? And appreciate it the way that you know you're capable of, okay? But it's not just about a one-time check kind of thing. All right, so with those pieces of information, what I want to do is I want to redo this exercise. And I want you to show me your fiercest target hands. And I want you to call for the ball in the most compelling, urgent way. And the thing is, I want you to really feel this. I want you to embody this, because this is how I want you to go after your careers. This is how I want you to represent your products, so that you can really achieve what you are meant to achieve. And the thing is, you have a lot of your colleagues that are not here today, right? They're in other places of the city or potentially even other states. I want us to raise the roof on this building so wherever they are, they hear rumbling at the convention center and they wonder what in the heck is going on here. Okay, so on the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3. All right. Thank you so much. Go ahead and sit down. We're going to do a real fast recap. All right, increasing your leadership impact and influence. First of all, it's about always holding yourself accountable for a value exchange. No more free passes. Think about what is relevance, what is differentiation in every situation. It's about consistently delivering those amazing Costco samples that is representative of who you are at your best. It's about having a clear plan to be amazing. Be clear about how you want to be known, how you want to be experienced, and hold yourself to that level of intentionality. It's about creating such distinctive experiences that people are willing to stand in your line, even if there is an extra cost. It's also about demonstrating those really convincing target hands. And bottom line, it's about personal accountability, because you can walk out this door and be exactly who you've always been. But that's not what today is about. Today is about that seismic shift, okay? So bottom line, starting today, how do you plan to be amazing? Also, we talked about in the beginning, this is a trolley ride that you take all of your people on as a PM. You can make it look and sound however you want to. Be thoughtful about it. Just make sure that it sings. We will rock you. Thank you so much. It's been an honor and a pleasure to spend this time with you. Please connect with me. I love hearing people's PTBA stories. It keeps me passionate about what I do. Again, this one is especially meaningful to me, and I thank you for your level of engagement and my ability to honor my mom and to invest in all of you. So have a great rest of your conference.
Thank you, Carol, for leading us through that amazing session. Real quick announcements. We do have a 10-minute break right now. So the breakout session 2 will start at 2:30. There are 3 breakout rooms, just like we had for this one. The session that will be happening here at 2:30 is Thinking Roadmap, a PM's Path to Mastery. And that will be by Amy Jo Kim. So if you signed up for that, please show up back here at 2:30. In room 211, and both these rooms are right outside these doors, Ellie Powers is going to lead the improv for PMs. And in room 212, we will have the founders panel. So your email should tell you which room you're supposed to be at. But if you have questions, come find one of us and we'll help you get you to the right place, all right? We'll see you back at 2:30. Thank you.